And then if we experience the leg muscles, once we get the feet balanced, we're usually engaged in the leg muscles. So just a bit more energy through the thigh muscles and lifting the lifting the kneecaps. And then a feeling of drawing the thighs up into the hips. And then bring the attention to the back of the hips and see if you can sink the tailbone a little bit. And open up at the back of the waist. So as we drop the tailbone, we feel a little longer there in the back of the waist. And then we'll help the abdominal wall engage by just tapping or rubbing. And we can feel how those muscles start to draw in. And they can also help us with lifting at the ribs. And then just pausing for a moment here with the fingers on the low belly. And then attention at the back of the waist and coming up the back body, a feeling of lifting up through the shoulder blades into the shoulder area at the back of the neck and the back of the head. And once we feel long there, we'll come back into our fingertips. We're going to work with the inhale. We'll run the fingers right up the center line as we breathe in. Get the elbows above the shoulders, finish our inhale. Hold the breath as we extend the arms. And let the arms come down with the exhalation. And whenever we need a new breath, just again, up the center line. And we'll get one last one here. Okay, once we get our arms down, again, just observe the back of the hips. So that feeling of the tailbone sinking downward. So there's that feeling at the back of the waist of it being a little more open. And we'll go with our attention back to the feet. And when we're ready, we're going to just float the heels off and then return. When the heels are down, we'll lift all the toes. And let's get 2 or 3 more. And once the heels are down and we've got the toes up, let's just pause a moment, keeping the toes up. So keep the big toes lifted, take the little toes down, and then switching. A couple more times, just back and forth. And then once all the toes are back up, just pause there for a moment, spread them wide apart. And then let's dig them into the mat, left foot and right foot. And then just pausing, just letting the toes release onto the ground. And then we're going to lift just the big toes. We've got the other toes down on the mat and roll the weight towards the outer edge of the foot. And then back in toward the center line. Once or twice more here, rolling in and out. And then when we bring the weight back in around the inner line, just pause there. We'll put the big toes down. Okay, and then let's bend our knees. We'll let them come close. So hands down near the knees, gentle circle. So we want to create a feeling of this knee circle is what moves the hips, what moves the ankles. When we're ready to, we're going to switch our direction. Okay, and we'll just come into the center here. So knees in close, let the hips sink down, sink the tailbone a little bit. And when you exhale, press the belly back into the back of the waist, just above the waist. Push back there, and then press up between the shoulder blades, back of the neck, tuck the chin. So we're really looking to round the spine here and press the spine upward, outward, and then bend, push the elbows now toward the ground. So we bend the elbows a bit more. We get the shoulder blades to move away from the back. Now, at some point, we need to breathe in. So we're going to keep the hands where they are, basically straightening the arms, move the chest forward, lift the back of the neck, move the head outward. Now, rather than stick the tailbone back, it's like we're trying to point the tailbone to the ground behind us so we can still feel a lengthening at the back of the waist. And then at some point, we're going to breathe out. So again, when we breathe out, we're going to round over. Think of the collarbones moving toward the pubic bone as we round the back. And then at some point, we're going to breathe in. Now, this breathing in, we're going to go tall. So when you start the inhale, lift the hands, let the fingers come around the face, the elbows poke up, and then lift through the shoulders and just keep coming up. Unfurl and reach and look upward as we stretch up, and then just gently press the hips forward. And when we're ready to exhale, just take the gaze straight ahead and then bring the arms down, and we'll just keep ourselves tall here. And we're going to take our feet a little wider apart. I just have mine quite close, so I'm going to get them out so they're roughly hips width apart. And then I'm going to bend the knees a bit, just so the legs are released. I've got my hands at my hips. I'm going to do another circle, but now I'm starting the circle with the hips. So the knees and ankles are just gently moving along. And then when you're ready to, switching direction. Changing direction a couple of times, and just want to have that feel a balanced amount on each. And when we feel ready to, we're in the center again. And then we'll just set up again with that little tuck to the tailbone, a little bit of bend in the knee. And then I'm going to draw a flat figure eight. So hips go out to one side, loop back through the center, out to the other side. And then just explore the movement in the hips, in the joints. And it can kind of have different inner feelings, in a sense, based on whether the knees stay side by side, or one knee might lead a little bit and the other follows. And it's going to give a slightly different motion through the hips and core. And then when we're ready in center, we're going to switch the direction in our flat 8 here. Okay, and then let's come into the center when we're ready, when we feel balanced. And again, bending the knees a little bit. And so we've got our knees a bit wider. We're going to slide the hands down again. They're going to pause just above the knees. We're going to point the fingers inward. And we're going to get an exhale going, tucking the chin, lifting the pubic bone and pressing the back of the waist back. And then take the elbows wide to spread the collarbones. And we're still going to lift up at the back of the neck, even though we've tucked our chin. And then we're going to stay in this position for 1 or 2 more breaths. Press a bit more weight at the base of the big toes. Gently use the leg muscles to take the knees wider. It's a small amount. It's the inner effort we want, not actually shoving the knees apart from each other, but the inner effort. And then see if you can find right up between the tops of the thighs, the muscles where you can pull in to the hips. So we've got the legs involved. And now when we inhale, we're going to keep the hands where they are, but straighten the arms, lift the chest, lift the neck, and sink the tailbone backwards towards the floor. So it's a slightly different position in the low back, but it's still long. And we're gonna, when we're ready to exhale, we're gonna reverse by tucking the tailbone, rounding the back, tucking the chin. And we're gonna come tall again. So this time for the inhale, take the hands away, move them up in front, really pick up the elbows high. And as the elbows come up by the head, pull the shoulders up and just keep going. And send the hips forward. And then when we're ready to, we just adjust the head so we're looking forward, and then we're going to stay tall. And bring the arms down. Okay. So one knee, then the other. And we're just picking up a leg. And whenever we do the right leg, we're going to bring it up and have it open outward, just a comfy pathway down. And then we're going to try just bringing the right foot against the left. Can touch anywhere, really, whatever comes out easily for the anatomy. And sometimes we end up being able to stay a long time. Sometimes it's a short time. And we'll do our last set here. Okay, and then pausing when we're done. Again, we've got a little more distance between our feet. If we think of where the heels are and where our hip sockets are, then I've got my hands about where my hip sockets are, and my heels roughly under my hands. So I have my hands at the top of the waist. When I breathe out, I'll take my right side back. I look behind. I'm going to release my right arm and point back behind. As I breathe in, I'll bring the arm vertical and turn forward. And breathing out, I'm going to take the right hand to the left shoulder and just slide it all the way down the left side of the body, dropping the head. And then inhaling it up the right side onto the hip. So just going side to side with the breath. Okay, we'll do our last pair. So doing a left will be our last one. Okay. Okay, so let's take the feet a bit wider apart. So thinking of the heels out around the shoulders, maybe a touch more, and we're going to turn the feet inward and bend the knees. So this is another place we want to think about that big toe and the line from the big toe through the arch to the heel. We add a bit of pressure there. The knees, I don't literally want to force them apart because that's hard on the joint, but I want to put energy in the muscles and kind of hold them open. And then at the inner thigh here, I pull inward and upward and then sink the tailbone, get the back of the waist feeling open. So I've created a very stable base here. And then I'm just going to put my hands on my lowest ribs and start to move those ribs side to side. So as I move the ribs, now the hips are going to get moved, but I want them to be moved a little bit because I'm moving from the ribs. Okay, let's make this a little bigger. So when we're in center, let's release the arms and we'll just put the fingers up on the shoulders and then get a feeling of poking out the elbow. And just feel your way back down your legs, that we're still having a very stable position in our leg. Okay. So let's make it bigger still by extending the arms and just getting this big reach. And just, again, feel down through the legs, kind of hips on down. And then we're going to come into center. We'll just pause here in the center for a moment. We'll fold the fingertips back onto the shoulders. And then a right elbow, just turn and poke it forward. Left elbow back, and then rotate to the other side. So we're going to keep the head turned forward, the hips face forward. So we really end up getting the shoulders and the ribs to rotate around the spine. Okay, so when the left elbow is forward, pause there. And then release the left arm. So it stretches out, the fingers face down. And then on that backhand, on that right hand, release the hand and then rotate the fingers so they point down. And to do that, we push the elbow up. So we push that right elbow back, that left palm forward. And then we're going to turn center and the arms are going to switch sides. Okay, so when the right is faced forward, pause there, and then bring the left out so they're both forward, and press through the heels of the palms, really get the shoulder blades to engage forward a bit, and then check down the back body, that we're creating length down the back body, dropping the tailbone into the thighs, that the inner thighs pull inward, the muscles around the knees gently moving outward, and weight along that inner arch line, base of the big toe. And then from here, let's open the arms wide and upward so we can take the shoulder blades along with us. So we lift and we press apart. And then we'll go straight up tall, reach up for the ceiling. And then wide again and kind of straight out to the side from the shoulders. And then push out in that right palm and go as far to the right as you can. And then swing the right arm down, the left up, and push up, push down. Check in with the neck, that we're keeping the neck long, back of the head lifting. Inhale to the center. Exhale over left, and left down and right up, pushing. And then inhale the center. Exhale out right, and then right down and left up and over. Initially, we'll work with this left arm straight. So now we are going to curve and lean a little bit, and then that lower arm moves over toward that opposite leg a bit in that direction. And then pushing, and then inhaling, reach, down and across, up and over. And then inhale, and then exhale, push, and then down and across, up and over, but different now. We're gonna bend the elbow so the fingertips point down, arms above my head, and I'm gonna just pulse 3 or 4 times, pushing out in the palm. And then inhale brings me up into neutral. Just gonna take a moment to reset my legs and core, and then left, down and across, up and over, bend the elbow, press out through the palm 3 or 4 times. And then inhale, up and over. Okay, and this inhale up. And then we're gonna soften the arms a little bit. We're gonna reach wide as they come down. And because we soften the shoulders a little bit, we're gonna work with the neck, that we really lift it up and get a feeling of it going backward a little bit, the tailbone a bit tucked. And then let's just give the legs a break. Lift the heels and swing them inward. Walk the feet in a bit. Okay, now let's look at the shoulder. So initially, just some inward and outward, both arms. And I'm gonna, again, for myself, I'm gonna check my tailbone, that little kind of sinking feeling, the length in the back body. Okay, and I'm gonna come neutral. So right hand is the one we're gonna work with initially. So left palm on the breastbone. I'm gonna get a couple of fingers above and below the collarbone. So the right arm rotates really as much as it can. And I really want to try to flex at the wrist and push through the heel of the palm. And then keeping the face kind of neutral on the skull, just tip the skull towards the left. And then take that right hand back a little bit, and we'll start to feel tensioning in this whole plexus here, brachial plexus. So we get that tensioning. Now I'm going to rotate the head so I turn my face back toward the right without tipping it downward. And then I'm going to move the eyes without the face moving, like I want to see those left fingertips. And then I'm just going to check everything for myself, that the crown of the head is pushing outward to the left, left and up. And the head rotates toward the right and the gaze goes downward. And now to get out of here, first I'll release the eyes, and then I'll rotate the head so its face is forward, and I'll bring the head skull back up, and then I just soften that right arm. Okay, so for the other side, we can just go right with the left hand. So I'm going to rotate the arm. I really want to get that wrist on this move. I want to get the wrist to not overwork, but get it to truly engage. And I want to press down and draw back. And then I'm going to tip the head opposite direction. And here I can fine tune that back arm. And it can feel quite different side to side where we feel the drawing in this work. Anyway, I've tipped the head and I'm going to rotate it back in the direction, back toward the left. And then I'm going to move the eyes, looking for those right fingertips without moving the head. Okay, we'll come out, so we'll soften the eyes. We'll just rotate the head so we're faced forward, and then we'll bring the head up to neutral and soften the arm. Now there's a very similar but slightly different version. We'll do that one as well. So it's basically the same arm position, but so here just, I won't engage strongly, but I'll just show. So here we've done this, right? And looking down. What I'm going to do is now I'm going to go here. I'm going to turn the head to the same side, rotate the head away. And then, you know, I'm looking to this shoulder, okay? So let's just take ourselves through it. So right arm again, left hand, basically the same place. So I'm going to gauge the right arm. I'll get it back behind the shoulder. And I'm going to take the head toward the right. And then from here, I'll just put a little more work on that right arm. And then I'm going to turn the head so my eyes now just look out to the left. And then I'm going to look down like I'm looking for, well, I am looking for that left arm. You know, the elbow may be a good place to look without tipping. And then just gently see if the right arm will get a little more rotation, move back just a little bit more. And we're going to come out of here, soften the gaze, rotate the head to neutral, lift it to the center, release the arm and shoulder. Okay, we'll go to the other side. So we'll place the right hand, we'll engage the left arm, move it back a little bit, and then I'm going to tip the head toward the shoulder. I'm going to rotate the face away from the shoulder. I'm going to drop the eyes towards the elbow. And then just seeing what else we can get out of that right arm without straining. And then we're going to leave by softening the eyes, rotating the head to the center, bringing the head vertical. Okay. So we'll do one last thing, and then we'll, I think, kind of consider that we've, in a sense, almost overdone this. But I've got the feet side by side. I'm going to step the right foot forward so the back of the right heel is just past the left toes. And I want to get even balance here. And I'm going to take my front leg as the right leg. So my right arm comes up. I'm going to put the palm upward, the back of the head, just touching, just at the just above the forehead there. And then I want to press up in that right elbow. And then these ribs on the right side, I'm going to press them outward, and then I'm going to engage my left, and it's going to push downward. So I want to draw up with the elbow, and I want to internally feel like these ribs are going outward. And then let's soften down and release the arm. I'll just bring that right foot back in. I'm going to take that left forward. So I take the heel just past the toes, and it's as if I could put a broomstick down and have a foot on each side of the broomstick. So first off, I want to get the weight even, and then when I'm ready, I'll take the left up, bend the elbow, and then when I'm ready here, I'm really going to push up with that elbow, move the ribs out, and now the right arm engages, presses down. And we end up inevitably with a bit of leaning to the side, but what I want that, if it occurs, to be the result of pressing the ribs outward, pushing the elbow upward. And then releasing, stepping back. And then actually, for a virtually full set, we've got this one, right? Where the elbows go back and up. And so I'm gonna, before I go fully into that, I'm gonna move my legs apart a little bit, sink the tailbone, so I can be really sure that I'm lengthening the back body. So elbows back, elbows up, neck long, head lifting. You can really feel this usually all through the upper back. And then just for a moment, connect the palms to the soles of the feet. See if you can kind of get a chain of effort from the palms all the way down. And then we're going to release, we're going to soften. We'll just kind of melt our way back down. Okay. Okay? Okay, so we're going to come down onto the mat. I'm just going to switch my camera. So let's try here where we've got the feet flat and opened apart. And we're just going to drop our knees one side then the other. We need to set up our feet so that the knees are comfortable and that we get this work, the work of all the moving goes into the hips and the knees don't feel strained as they go side to side. Okay, so now when you get to the right, just pause there and lift this left hip up. Really get it up and to turn, right? And there's this movement. So I put my left hand on my hip. Yeah, right at the side, not at the back, but right down, you know, where you're like you're trying to put your hand in your pocket. So you're low there. And I'm moving forward and back. Okay, and let's try the same thing for the other side. Yeah, that's it. Really get the hip to lift and we end up here, we're on our left side. So the left hip socket is moving and so is the SI joint. Okay, let's go back to the right. So get that hip to lift and turn, and then when it's turned, just look round over your right side. And you can take the right hand now and just put it on the ground if you like, over on the right somewhere. And we're just going to really look around to the right and take a twist. And then when we inhale, we're going to come forward. We'll do the same thing on the left. Drop the legs over. Get a clear movement out of the hip. And then take a deeper twist by turning toward the left. And then the inhale turns us forward. Now I'm just going to lean back on my hands and just shake the legs and then stretch them out. And then just lightly bounce the legs. Okay. So legs wide, legs turned in, tailbone sinking down, back of the waist going back, neck lifting, back of the head lifting. And then I'm just going to bring the arms forward. I'm going to get a feeling of reaching. That spreads my collarbones, pressing through the palms. I'm going to go wide and I'm going to swing up tall. I'm going to push the shoulders up, reach up through the palms. So I want to take the neck back and up, back of the head up, the eyes looking down, the big toes wanting to touch each other, so leaning towards each other. And then take the arms wide. And then bring the legs in close. Legs are in close so I can bend the knees. I've just kind of got a fist between my heels. Got the ankles flexed. I'm going to press the base of the big toe, the arch, toward the ground. I'm going to push the knees open. I'm going to lift tall. And then when I'm ready, having checked my back, I'm going to float the arms up. I'm going to rotate the arms, push out. Now this time I'll go straight up the center line, press for the ceiling, get the length as I sink the tailbone, and then take the arms wide. I'm pushing through the palms, coming tall. So we're going to use the low belly to help the low back go backward, the tailbone to go downward. We're going to use the arms and shoulders to help to give room for the ribs to lift, the spine to lengthen. And then release the arms, float the arms down, make contact with the knees and bring the knees up, the feet flat, and just wrap the arms around the knees. So we're going to round the back. It's just like we're doing at the start when we were standing, that sense of the collarbones moving downward, heading towards the pubic bone. Tailbone's a little tucked. And then using the elbows kind of push forward a little bit, and you can feel that moves the shoulder blades wider. And then the inhale, let the head float up. Okay, so let's go under our back. So here, just take a moment to let the weight of the back rest on the mat. Got the tailbone a little tucked. And tuck the chin a little bit. And then let's take hold of the knees, and we'll just move them towards the armpits. And lift the feet up in the air so they're higher up than the knees. We can take some circles in our ankles. They're going to move freely, use both directions. And then just relax the ankles and then move the feet in circles around the knee. And using both directions. And then coming neutral. Hands on top of the knees and just let the feet relax. Move the knees towards the armpits and then the knees wider apart. And we're going to circle the legs. We're going to use the hands to move the knees close to each other, then apart. Changing direction at some point. And then just coming into a still place with the knees heading toward the armpits. Want to feel that our tailbone is off of the mat. And then just 1 or 2 nice long breaths, where on the inhale, we're going to fill our low belly like it's a balloon. And a nice long exhale. Let's try breathing out through the mouth on the exhale with the lips just slightly parted. So it's like slowly letting air out of a big balloon. Now, whenever we finish the exhale, bringing the knees in closer, we're going to wrap the arms around the knees and hug them in, and then lift the upper back and tuck the chin. Just create a feeling of pulling the shoulders toward the knees. And then on the inhale, let the head rest back on the mat, tucking the chin. We'll keep the knees closed, but we're going to lift our feet up so they're higher in the air than our knees are. The heels are higher than the knees. We want that tailbone clearly tucked up off the mat. Energize the legs. We can let go with the arms and the legs stay where they are. We're going to take the arms straight up to the ceiling. We're going to bend at the wrist, rotate the arms, and press up through the base of the palm. And just taking the eyes downward, looking for the chest. Chin is tucked. And as we push up through the hands, see if we can get the breastbone to drop downward. And then let's lower the arms down near the ears, just off the ground, and push out through the palms. Having the chin a little tucked. Having the chest sink down away from the ceiling into the floor. And then take the arms wide apart, about 45 degrees, a little higher than the shoulders, and press sideways, pressing outward. And then bring the arms down alongside the hips, just off the ground again, pushing out through the palms. Really press out with the palms. The chin is tucked. And then lift the arms up to about knee height and still pressing away. And then right here, if it's comfortable, lift the head, tuck the chin, really push out through the palms so the shoulders lift up. Lifting up at the back of the head, looking down at the belly, pressing through the palms. And then bend the elbows, put the hands behind the head, put all the weight of the head on the hands, and then just guide the head back on the mat. And then bend the knees and let the feet touch down with the feet really close together, really close to the hips. Now, keeping the hands where they are, we're going to roll to the side. So whichever side's easier for you to see the camera, just roll to that side. Okay, so we've got a bottom side, a top side. So we want to be on the bottom side. The knees, we're going to have a little slack at the knee. So the bottom knee, take it lower. And then the top knee just kind of, that's it, drops over. You got it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my top hand back behind the head. My bottom hand, I'm going to reach for the top leg. And then I'm just going to put the back of the head down on the ground. I'm going to turn my head a little bit towards that top elbow. So the top arm, it's bent, the hand's behind the head. I don't want to turn the head all the way. I just take it a little bit of the way. So without straining, I can kind of see where that elbow is. And then experience the shoulder blades and see if we can let them sink down toward the ground. And tucking the chin a bit, working with that upper arm so we can get a feeling of lengthening the back of the neck. Okay, now from this position, when we inhale, we're really going to focus on the diaphragm. So this top side, I'm going to really expand the diaphragm, starting with the top side, but let the whole diaphragm expand as I breathe in. Whenever it's a breathing out again through the mouth, the lips just slightly parted, and a deep, long out breath. We want to give ourselves 3 big inhales. And after that 3rd big inhale, just relaxing in that top shoulder, in the armpit, in the neck. And then we're going to turn back toward that lower side. So bring that top elbow back over, release that bottom hand. We'll get both hands behind the head. Bring the knees side by side. And then we're just going to roll ourselves onto the back, using the arms to support the neck. And then let's just let the head rest down for a moment. Just rest the arms lower down. We'll put our hands on the low belly. And then we're going to go to the other side. So let's set the body up. First, the hands back behind the head again, elbows pointed up. So feet close to each other, to the hips, and then tip onto the side. Okay, so first let's let that bottom knee drop a little lower away from the hips. And then that top elbow moves up and away. And we peel ourselves over towards that top side. And that naturally releases that bottom arm. And it's going to now reach down and hook on that top leg. So we've got the gaze a bit over so we can see that top elbow. It's dropping away from us. And then when we're ready, we get 3 big inhales that really focus initially on the top part of the diaphragm, but we want the whole diaphragm to lift and expand in all directions. And when we do have our our exhale, exhaling out through the lips slightly parted. So after we get that third inhale, after the exhale, just relaxing for a moment. And then when we're ready to leave, we're going to take the elbow up, get both hands behind the head, and just head all the way over onto that side. Realign the knees, and we'll go onto our back. And take the hands behind the head. We're going to reach the knees and draw the knees inward. Now, drawing the knees in close so we lift the tailbone, let's cross the wrists. Lift the feet up higher than the knees. And then from here, we're going to go into the general. So first we release the right arm, take it vertical, rotate the arm, push up through the palm, and then bring the arm down close to the ear and push out to the wall behind you. Take that left heel down and scrape that left leg out long on the ground. Push through the foot and push through the palm. And check the low back. See if we can drop the low back down into the mat. And when we inhale, we're going to bring the left leg straight up. And the right arm follows. Push up for the ceiling. And then bend the knee, put the hand back on the knee. Or release the left arm, reach up, rotate the arm, pushing through the palm. Going to bring the arm down close to the ear and push to the wall behind us. The heel goes down. The leg lengthens. We press through the foot, through the hand, and we just check in with the low back. We want to sink the low back downward. When we inhale, we'll bring the right leg vertical. Left arm follows. And then bend the knee. Put the hand on the knee. Well, let's repeat the cycle. Taking the right arm vertical, rotating, pushing up, and then down by the ear, pressing out. The left heel touches, the leg extends. And then when we inhale, we'll bring that left leg vertical and then the right arm vertical, and they both press upward. We're going to bend the knee. The hand goes back to the knee. And then releasing the left arm to reach up. It rotates, pushing upward. And it comes down by the ear, and we push outward. And then the heel touches and stretches out. When the leg is long, we push all the way from heel to hand, sinking the low back. And then inhale, we'll bring that right leg up, the left arm up, bending the knee. And then let's release the hands, hand holding their own knee, drawing the knees inward. And just breathing down into the belly. And then release the legs. Let the feet touch the mat. And stretch the legs out long. So we'll take the feet wider than the hips, resting the arms on the ground, away from the sides. And just bringing the attention onto the breath. Experiencing the breath as it enters the body, moving over the roof of the mouth and the throat, the movement of the ribs, and lengthening the in-breath so the low belly works. And using the ribs and the belly as we breathe. And when we breathe in, let's reach up and over with the arms, stretch down the legs. As we exhale, draw the knees in, holding on to the knees, and just rocking the weight side to side. And then taking our weight all the way over onto either side of the body. Just press ourselves upward, coming sitting.